What's up, guys? JZNES back again. Today I've got kind of a sore throat or something. I don't know what's going on. This just happened as of I just realized it as of when going to record this, so hopefully it turns out okay. But today we're reviewing Kirby 64 there on the N64. Not a game that I had back in the day. For the N64. It was a later release for the N64. But yeah, Kirby 64 there. Game I've always heard good things about. I know Digibro and Victor, his brother there, on their Let's Play series, they played through it and they had a grand old time with it. And I remember them really liking it a lot and having a lot of personal nostalgia for it. And I think that was pretty funny and that was cool, so I liked that. But yeah, I didn't really have a lot of experience with this one. I didn't really know anybody who had it or whatever. I always heard about it though, like my friend Mayab talked about it a bit, and I don't know, just a few other people I know would always talk about Kirby 64 and how it's like one of the better Kirby games overall. And I think that's definitely true. I think it's definitely probably like the third best Kirby game after Kirby Adventure and Kirby Superstar. Of course, Gus has to come and join the video here. So yeah, it's probably my third favorite Kirby there. And actually, this time I did set out to complete the game, and I actually ended up doing that, 100%ing the game. So there's that. That finally did that. You know, I finally went out of my way to get all the secrets. But to be fair, in this game, they don't hide the secrets so well that it's like some Illuminati shit. It's like, they're there, you can see them. The only challenge usually to you getting those secrets is part of the new ability system. Now, the new ability system is a combination system of sorts. You take two abilities and you combine them together. There's lots and lots of variations of this, the worst one being like the fucking dynamite one that I used once to get one crystal shard. There's 3 crystal shards in each level, there's like 5 levels per world, and then a boss level. There's 4 levels per world and then a boss level, which has 1 crystal shard, so that's 13, random number, but 13 in each world there that you need to collect. So, yeah. And some of them are like not that well hidden, but a lot of them are like very well hidden, and you basically need to have the right power up at the right time kind of thing. Now, going through the game initially, I got about 71% of the crystal shards, and then after doing that, I just had the inkling to go back and get the rest of them. I'm like, you know what, it can't be that bad. It looks like I saw a few of them throughout my playthrough, so I'm like, you know what, this time I'm gonna give this one the credit it deserves and go back and see how that experience would be. And a lot of the ones I missed were kind of the frustrating ones, but a lot of them weren't as bad as I was making them out to be. Or just ones I didn't initially find on my playthrough or whatever. But there were some like really frustrating ones, and mostly due to the abilities and trying to have the abilities to get to that point in the level. Now, I like the copy system overall, and I like the combination copy system. I think that's brilliant. What I ask, and it doesn't matter, this game's like from 2000, but what I ask that they do in the future would be a mode. If I just had these power-ups at all times and could just combine them, like in Milky Way, what was it, Milky Way Wishes, or whatever, that would have been great, because then at any time, all I would have to do is think, okay, I need to combine this one with this one, or just try different combinations to kind of figure out what the thing for that scenario is. That would have saved so much hassle. You have to essentially either A, know where the power-ups are, or go to one of the final levels where they just kind of have all the power-ups ready for you or all the enemies that are the power-ups, essentially. So I would go to that level again and again, go to the part with the guy that I needed, so it was kind of this tedious system. The one thing I will give the game credit for is the try again, which that's a dumb name, but I'm not giving it credit for that. It should have just been like exit level. That's a nice way to put it. The try again function lets you exit the level, and whatever collectibles and crystals or whatever that you've gotten end up coming with you. So if you're just looking for one specific crystal and it's at the beginning of the level, you don't have to play through the whole level to get to that. You just kind of go through until you get the thing, and then you leave the level. So that made the backtracking later on and the replaying the levels a lot easier. Now, I still did have to replay the levels sometimes multiple times because I would have the wrong power-ups. I was trying to follow a video guide, so I would always look at like what power-ups he had and then do it. But it's like, at first I was like, well, this is stupid because how are you supposed to know where all the power-ups are? But then there's a level at the end that I remembered where you get all the power-ups, so that's not really a factor. The factor really is doing the level without save states and emulation. You're gonna tell me that people now back in the day, I understand the mentality was, trust me, I was a kid in the N64 era. That was my shit. This is my first system I bought with my own money, so I totally understand. Back in the day, I mean, even back in the day, we had game facts, kind of. I did look up some like Majora's Mask guides and stuff back in the day, but I'm just saying, back in the day, you didn't have YouTube to go and look up where all these are. So really, at the end, I can't even do the. God damn it! Oh, my voice is all fucked up. Really, at the end of the day, you can't just go online back in the day and look at that. So what you would do is you would go through the level and just try all the combinations or whatever, kind of go by the context clues. Now, most of the things that are hidden behind surfaces or something are kind of coded in the color of the power-up that you need. So you kind of have a vague idea of what you're going to be needing to get into the thing there. Now, some of the crystals are hidden behind these like little puzzles that the little painter lady does. And so you kind of have to like, there's one where you have to like break blocks to emulate what she like did. Mine was an umbrella, so I had to like break the top ones and then like skinny down the middle part. And then there was one where you have to like hit colors based on what fruits she had and stuff like that. Just little switches and stuff. There was like 3 of those that I remember throughout the game. So, yeah, so sometimes there's little puzzles like that and stuff. Or you'll, really what it is, you'll just need to know the specific power-up, and there's just like some power-ups you would rarely use outside of like getting these specific crystal shards. For instance, there was this stone power-up. I used it twice. Not the actual stone power-up, but you needed like stone and one of the other ones, I think, to do it. But it turns you into all the little creatures, stone versions of them, but the little creatures from the previous game, Kirby Dream Land 3 there. So I thought that was pretty cool. But you, but you need to use the hamster one to like climb up this wall. You need to use your hamster style to climb up this wall. Hey, there we go. Climb up this wall. It's getting slightly better. Maybe I just need to talk it through. Climb up this wall to kind of get to this one. That one was really tedious. The only other time I used that specific stone one was when I was in this waterway that like keeps you going or whatever. And you can use it to like kind of get a few gems in that level. So yeah, so some of them are kind of frustrating, like I said, but the majority of them are a nice, like, just kind of slightly off the beaten path kind of thing. Unlike the other Kirby Dream Land games where they were either really cryptic or, you know, it was just like, I don't have any desire to find these. This game is more well structured around these collectibles, which you do need in order to get the true ending. But the regular ending, or the bad ending, or whatever, really isn't that bad this time. It's actually pretty happy. And I was like, wow, okay, so they finally learned their lesson that, like, this is side content, additional content. You know, not all the players are going to do this extra stuff and find all the things. Thus, we don't need to make a bad ending. Like, why did it always have to end bad in, like, Kirby Dream Land 2 and stuff, and 3? So, you know, but this game has a happy ending if you don't do it, and then it has a slightly different ending if you do it. So, and the final boss, the actual final boss, let's talk about actually, you know, there's not really bosses in this game, for the most part. There's like a few, there are bosses. Never mind, what am I fucking talking about? Sorry, just bear with me here. It's late. There are bosses in the game, and those are pretty cool. There was like one where it's like, it looked like an Einhinder boss or something, so that was pretty sweet. I don't really remember many of the other ones, but there's a boss at the end of each level. I already said that, so I was just contradicting myself and being stupid there. Anyway, the final boss, that's not the final boss, is pretty cool because he goes through all the different elements, and you basically can only hurt him with that element, so any power-ups you bring in are essentially useless, which is cool because then that means that you have to use his attacks against him. And I really liked that, and I thought it was a much better final boss than, like, most of the other Kirby games, and especially, like, the infamous, like, King DDD fight from, like, the first one, and, like, anytime, you don't fight King DDD in this game. He's actually one of your, like, friends and companions in this game, which is pretty cool. And sometimes you get to, like, jump on his back and use his hammer and stuff, so I think that's pretty neat, too. Not bad. But yeah, I liked the final boss that's not the final boss. The final boss, once you've done all the shards and done all that and gone through all that work, that probably took me an additional, like, 4 hours to a game that was probably, like, 6 or so hours. So, adds a good amount of replayability onto there, to get all the shards and whatnot. Hey, you know, a 10-hour game at the end of the day, 10-hour Kirby game's kind of long, but a 10-hour game at the end of the day is really not that bad. So, I mean, I didn't feel not well-paced. It felt well-paced. I should say, I don't know why I said it not, I don't know why I did it that way. But anyway, I liked that. I didn't think, it didn't overstay its welcome or anything like that. It actually overstayed its welcome less than a lot of the other Kirby games. I felt like the levels were not so bad. Some of them were kind of long, and I didn't really appreciate that. But I had save states, and I basically just used the shit out of that. So my point earlier, I guess, let's talk about the final boss, and then I'll get to my point earlier. The final boss was kind of hard to do because they tried to do a 3D perspective. The whole game is 2D. There's 3D backgrounds and stuff. To kind of show off the N64, and the aesthetic is actually pretty good. It's not as clean as, like, some of the earlier Kirby games, but I still do really appreciate the aesthetic in its own right. I think it's still very nice and vibrant and colorful, and it looks really good for an N64 game. You know, a lot of that being the fact that they all have to do kind of a side-scrolling thing, but it looks a lot like Klonoa was my initial thing for it. They didn't really do a lot of the Klonoa gimmicks where you, like, throw stuff in the foreground or anything. I was kind of expecting that, but that didn't really happen. But yeah, so it has that same graphical style where the camera will, like, shift around. You'll, like, be walking on a slant. You know, that same effect, I should say, like that. So the final boss kind of utilizes that. You can rotate the camera with R and L, which on the N64 controller would have been a lot harder than it is. Actually, not really, because the way you'd be holding the N64 controller would be like a normal controller, because you do use the D-pad and you don't really use the analog. So it would have been interesting to play this with an actual N64 controller, but I did not. I actually played it with a PlayStation controller there. But it worked fine. So point is, final boss utilizes that a little bit so you can, like, dodge attacks and stuff, and you have to, like, shoot his eye from specific angles, and then you, like, angle up to shoot his halo, and then you can shoot the thing on the bottom of him, like this giant thorn thing or whatever. It's not bad as a concept, but in execution, some of the attacks are kind of really annoying to dodge, so that kind of sucks. But that's about the worst of it. It's really not too terrible, the final boss. It was the most frustrating part, I think, of the game. I actually kind of think that's maybe why I threw out my voice was I did it like fuck, you know, I did one of those AVGN fucks at one point when I saved over my save state, so I had to do the whole final boss again, rather than being late into the final boss and whatever. But it ended up working out. I ended up beating him, so no big deal there. But yeah. This sounds like Diddy Kong Racing. I do like the soundtrack. The soundtrack is good. I mean, surprise there, right? All Kirby games have like really good soundtracks. This one stands out particularly well. I think it was a little bit above some of the other entries. I definitely like it. You know, definitely has that N64 style. The N64 had such good music, man. I tell you, that system was classic music right there. So, but listen to this. This is funky. I like this. This is good stuff here. So, music's good. But the thing I was going to say earlier is you losing your power-ups at any point in the level, if you die, but you're going to die a lot if you're like me, you lose your power-up at any point in the level you were going for that crystal shard, you may not be able to get that power-up again in that level, or that combination of power-ups in that level. So you might have to exit the level and do the whole level again. So, fuck you, you know? So, kinda sucks in that regard. If I had been playing without save states, that would have really pissed me off. And that did kind of piss me off too, because I would have to always reload my save state for when I would have the power-ups, so sometimes I'd be a ways back in the level. So I had to redo a lot of aspects of the level. So not only, here's the thing, not only would you maybe lose your power-up and maybe not be able to get that back in the level because they didn't want you to be able to get it back in the level, you might have to actually go out of the level, get that power-up, and try to make it through the level again. Let's say you're on that third shard, you know, it's at the very end of the level, and you have to keep this power-up that whole time. Like, you can see where this would be really hard without save states. So with save states, it's frustrating, but doable. Without save states, it's still doable, but it's going to take you a lot longer, and it's going to be a hell of a lot more frustrating. Now, my excuse for this versus the other games is that I actually enjoyed this game enough to go and do the save state, or to go get all these crystal shards, rather than the other games where they were incredibly well hidden. And that's really the part of it, is that these are somewhat well hidden, you know, and a lot of times they're pretty well hidden, but they're actually not too obscure. You could probably figure out all of these on your own with time and patience. I don't know how the hell you're supposed to find all of this stuff in the other Kirby Dream Land games that had collectibles like this. Here, it feels more natural, and it feels more integrated into the level design, so I do definitely appreciate that. But just the fact that you would have to really go back through the whole level again and again and get really, really good at the game could be frustrating to some people. Now, that's kind of how games were back in the day, but by the N64 era, that was kind of pushing it. I think that we were kind of working our way away from that kind of system. Maybe not, though. Super Mario Sunshine came out around the same time as this game on the goddamn fucking, the GameCube there, and that game was tedious as shit too. So it's not like they'd totally gotten away from it, but there is also a live system in this game, and a lot like the other games, you have the little stars that you pick up, and a certain amount of those will get you there. There's a thing at the end of each level where you like can jump on this picnic mat to like get more stars or get an extra life or whatever, or get a maximum tomato. That was kind of not like super intuitive, but like I kind of understand how it works. I don't understand the force of your jump on that one. I understand Kirby like points himself towards the thing, but it's like, you know, you're just kind of getting lucky on that one, I feel like sometimes. But yeah, so I think the potential of this combination and copy system is really cool, and I don't think that they will, but I sure hope that they use that in a later game as well, because the copy system is a really good idea. But my ideal Kirby game would be a game just like this, where once you get those power-ups, much like in Milky Way Wishes, you just keep those power-ups. Or you can get temporary versions of those power-ups until a certain point in the game where they want you to have those power-ups permanently. There you go. I mean, that solves all the problems. You know, you can just kind of temporarily have them, and then eventually you will have them, and then you can combine them. That takes all of the best aspects of some of the best Kirby games and throws them all together and makes the perfect Kirby game right there. But they're not going to do that because Kirby's just about being a baby easy game now. Not this, this wasn't pretty easy, but, you know, there were some frustrating moments, like I said, some difficulties, so I'm all for a semi-challenging Kirby game like this. Like, let's do it, you know? Where those things are implemented. I really like that. So, I hope, for Kirby's sake, that somewhere in the future, they have that to implement. Yeah, but overall, I really liked the game. You know, like I said, graphically, it's cool. It's a lot like Klonoa. It's a very good-looking N64 game, and I like how it's a 2D sort of N64 game in the sense of controls and whatnot. That you would have used the D-pad for. That would have certainly been interesting, because I've never used the D-pad on the N64, like, ever. Yeah, like, that must be one of the most underutilized D-pads, like, ever. But, yeah, so I like that. I like that it's different like that. And I like the gameplay changes that they made. The copy system makes it fun to just take different enemies, throw them together, and see what you get kind of thing. So you're always more excited about all the power-ups of the enemies, and I think that's really cool. Some of my favorite ones were the firework one, which I didn't get to use in the later game that much, but I loved that one because it was kind of like the screw attack in a sense. That was a really good one. I like the bigger double cutter one. Of course, any of the ones with the bombs were pretty good. I didn't like the dynamite one. I thought that one sucked. That was probably my least favorite one, just because when you throw down the dynamite, it blows up an extreme area, and you're always generally going to get hit by that, but I needed it for this one level. It was the biggest pain in the ass to get it to the end of the level so I could get to that shard there. Didn't like that one. I'm trying to think what the other was. There's just so many of them that, like, there's so many different combinations and stuff, and I think that's really cool. You know, you're experimenting with a lot of stuff. I think my point earlier was this was the kind of game where even if you didn't have game facts back in the day, this would have been just a fun one to kind of experiment with the powers and try to figure out what goes where and find all the secrets of the game. And I think this would have been definitely a cool game to have done that with back in the day. You know, beating your head against the wall to try to find all the little shards or whatnot. And really, the game doesn't even hint towards the fact that other than having a little completionist, like how many shards you have at the start of, unlike the map screen, or whatnot. It's not a map screen, but when you are selecting the level or whatnot, so. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I think there's a lot to like about Kirby 64, and I think it's definitely the best, not the best Kirby, but like the third best Kirby game to me, and maybe even the second best.
I do like Superstar a lot, though, and it has a lot of variety. And it has the Milky Way wishes part, which is a pretty brilliant concept. Though, I do like the copy system here, and I did have a lot of fun playing these levels. You know, I think I'm going to give the point to this game as being second best there. And with that, I've actually completed all of the games here on the Kirby Dream Land collection. So we have Kirby Dream Land Adventure, Dream Land 2, Superstar, Dream Land 3, and Kirby 64 here, which we just reviewed right now. So that's kind of going to be the end of Kirby for a while for me. I'll probably come back to the series at some point, but I need to kind of collect the rest of the games. There wasn't really a GameCube one, and I don't really, I've never really done Wii emulation. I'm sure I could do it, but I don't know. I just don't really, I want to, and the DS is like another stupid, tricky one to kind of get done. So really, I kind of want to track down those games legitimately, and because there's like one in the DS, it's like Mass Attack or whatever, and there's like a Superstar on the DS, but I'm probably not gonna redo that one. There's Return to Dreamland on the Wii, and then there's, I have Epic Yarn, but that doesn't really even count. I could review that though. It's pretty easy, pretty simple. There's the Switch one. I think there's one I'm missing too in there, so there's probably a few I'm missing in there somewhere. I know there's some Game Boy Advance ones. There's like a remake of Dreamland. There's Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. I don't know, some of those games I could review at a later time, but right now, the little Kirby marathon is kind of over. I kind of have my year and even most of next year sort of laid out for games. Actually, almost, do I have almost all of next year laid out for games? I have a pretty big tentative plan, we'll just say, in terms of games. No, not all of them. I have just like the beginning of next year kind of laid out. But I have until the end of this year sort of thought out. I do have a marathon planned for next year, but we'll get to that when we get to that. I'll give you a little hint. We'll get to that in November, that marathon. So, it's a series that's gonna, here's your hint. It's a series that, if I review one every month, which is the plan, from November, it'll take me until, like, December. It'll take me all the way through next year to do all of the games, for this series that I haven't done already. So, it's pretty easy to guess what's going on with that. And, the timing's pretty good on that, for a different reason, because E3 just happened and they announced the game. You know, Metroid Dread, that looks pretty cool. And then they showed some of Breath of the Wild 2 there, that looks good. What else about E3? I'm trying to think. Oh, Life is Strange. The HD collections coming to Switch there. They started off with this like an animated sort of thing, and I'm like, wait, did they just like, what's going on? This is like a new Life is Strange game? And also, Life is Strange True Colors is coming to Switch. I guess Life is Strange 2 just gets the shaft, because Before the Storm is part of the collection, but like, Life is Strange 2 just doesn't get his time to shine, so, yeah. Or Captain Spirit, for that matter, I suppose. But, fuck, maybe we'll get back to that. I don't know, we'll see. I definitely want to get back to that before True Colors comes out. It's coming out fucking in a few months or whatever. That's ridiculous. What's that other game that's like coming out soon? Some other game. Oh, it showed Shin Megami Tensei 5. That looks pretty cool. I definitely want to play that at some point. I don't know. You know what? They didn't talk about Pokemon at all. I guess I didn't realize that. That's kind of strange. But, yeah. So anyway, let's get back to Kirby. Kirby, Crystal Shards there, 64. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Because I really enjoyed it. There were some really frustrating aspects that takes off that 1 point. But I still think of it as a really solid Kirby game. And probably one of the best of those. And a great N64 game. which is saying a lot because some of my favorite games are from the N64. You know, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Star Fox 64. Probably forgetting a bunch of Mario Party 2, Mega Man Legends 64. Conker's Bad? Question mark. I guess, kind of. Banjo-Kazooie, there's one. That's a good one. Might have to get to that at some point. Wink, wink. So, yeah. And Banjo-Tooie, God, I don't know when I'm gonna get to that, but not really relevant. So yeah, Kirby's kind of done for now. I'll probably come back to it someday. I had a lot of fun doing the Kirby series. They're really solid games, and they're really short, and they bought me a lot of time. A lot of time. So I could maybe play some longer games. That was the whole point of the series, honestly. But they did. They bought me a lot of time, so. But it's good. I liked them. I enjoyed playing them. They were fun. So, but until next time, this has been JZNES. Say keep it classic. Stick around for more reviews on underrated games. I'll see you guys in the next one. JZ out.